Well, folks, today we have some exciting updates, including all of the playable demos at Gamescom because Nintendo went out of their way to announce it. We have more information detailing out a potential Phase 3 Nintendo Direct. This is a rumor, of course. There's not a ton of details here, but it is something that we're going to have to pay attention to. We have some updates from Nightdive Studios, some Famitsu sales, Playtonic Games, Dragon Drive stuff. Oh my gosh, and also a rumor for Mario's 40th anniversary. That's right, we got a show packed with some rumors. We got a show packed with some news. And before I remind you about what that stuff is, hey, two of you are going to walk away with a game of choice this month. You can enter down in the link in the pinned comment or the description. You need to be 18 or older. The game could be for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, Switch 1, Switch 2, or PC, a standard edition. I wish all of you guys luck in entering. And let's go ahead and dive right in because, bam! This is Nintendo Germany saying this year you can find us again at Gamescom from August 20th to 24th. Visit our booth in Hall 9 to play current and new games for Nintendo Switch 2 from us and our partners. Participate in fun tournaments and much more. So look, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, Pokemon Legends ZA, Hollow Knight Silksong, baby, Hades 2, Elden Ring Tarnished Edition, Borderlands 4, Final Fantasy 7 Remake Integrate, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Mario Kart World, Super Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV, FC 26, Cyberpunk 2077, and some GameCube classics. Look, guys, this is a killer list. There's games on here we really want release dates for, like Final Fantasy 7. Obviously, we really want a release date for that, Elden Ring, etc. We just don't have dates yet. Hopefully we'll get dates soon, but I'm really excited to get to demo these. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond and ZA being demoed publicly for the first time. That's really exciting stuff. Remember, some of these games are also being demoed at the Fan Expo in Canada, so if you happen to be a neighbor to the north and want to attend that, go ahead and look that up and see how you can attend. Obviously, it's just being to the north of me. Canada's a whole giant country. Not everyone's going to be able to go. Speaking of being able to go, we actually have to do something here that makes me smile, and that is congratulate Digital Foundry. Digital Foundry's been, in parts, writing articles and doing things, I believe since like 2007, maybe sooner than that, over on Eurogamer. And Eurogamer, Digital Foundry, and the rest were bought out not too long ago by Ziff Davis, aka the parent company of IGN. And today, Digital Foundry answers to nobody but you, the audience. Digital Foundry is now fully independent. They did a full video on this. I encourage you to go watch because regardless if you like Digital Foundry or not, I'm always happy to see independence from massive outlets because that's really been the calling card of not just this YouTube career, my career here, but many others out there, many of my friends that used to work at bigger outlets that now have separated out. And I just want to read some of the quotes here from Richard Ledbetter, one of the leaders of the company. So Digital Foundry has parted ways with IGN, and we bought their shareholding in the business, says Ledbetter. What this means is that from now on, all aspects of Digital Foundry are decided upon by Digital Foundry. We answer to nobody but you, the audience. We are fully independent. We're proud of that. We think it's the future of games media, but how far we push, how ambitious we want to be, well, that's where you come in. It's an exciting new chapter for Digital Foundry. And again, I really do encourage, I'll link to their video down below where they did a big announcement, 36-minute discussion on the whole thing. I'm very happy for them, regardless if you enjoyed their coverage or not over the years. Hey, now we know absolutely moving forward, there's no big business influence. It's just what they want to do because the audience wants them to. Next up, we have Famitsu sales coming right from Famitsu. So it's going to be a little bit sloppier since we're taking it out the Famitsu website. But I wanted to show you guys, since I don't always show the Famitsu website, these numbers are real. We usually show some other website reporting them. But now you'll see why, because the formatting is not great for English because this is all machine translated. But you come down here and you see the top 10 stars. See how this is all like jammed together? It's not very clean, but I wanted to show you that this stuff really is posted at Famitsu. I've seen some people doubt it at times. So first place is Switch Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, the Hinoki Chronicles 2 at 54,499. Second place is Mario Kart World at 51,544. Donkey Kong Country Bonanza. I don't know why they're calling it Donkey Kong Country Bonanza because it's just Donkey Kong Bonanza, but whatever. 25,199 copies. The Switch Holo Hanfanadas at 16,000. And et cetera, et cetera. You guys can see the whole list there on screen. Obviously, mostly just Nintendo games there. But then they have this really well organized. So explain to me why they organize it this way, but this is good. Here's the hardware sales. Remember, these are estimated. Switch 2 sold 62,733 units for a total of 1,677,123 units. It is notable that Famitsu updated their numbers with the current sales for Nintendo. It's one thing I like that they do. VG Charts does the same way. They have their sales estimations, but then when the official numbers come out, they update it. So these numbers actually look down compared to what they posted last week, because last week their estimated was that Switch 2 was already at 1.7 million. It's actually not quite there yet, but it's nice to see that adjustment so we can see what the real sales are in Japan. The Switch sold, was it 2,626 units? Something like that. The Switch Lite sold 5,505 units. The second best-selling system, of course, was the Switch OLED at 10,506 units. You see PlayStation 5 at 4,426 units. PlayStation 5 Digital at 831. PlayStation 5 Pro at 1,884. Xbox Series X at 78. Xbox Series X Digital Edition at 38. Xbox Series S at 155. And PS4 somehow still in there at 19 units. Nice to see the PS4 still kicking around with some sales. Next thing you know, you see Wii U pop up on the sales chart. It says 1 unit of Wii U sold in some random store in the back room. Anyways, that's the sales in Japan. The sales obviously are down week over week. This is what happens when you get away from game releases. Again, we haven't had consistent, really big game releases yet on Switch 2. There's been a lot of long gaps. I think that's going to change as we get to the holidays. But hey, it's still the #1 seller in Japan, and we'll just keep it moving because next up, Nightdive Studios is developing a new sci-fi remake in Unreal Engine 5. So Nightdive Studios has actually done quite a few games. So the reliable team at Nightdive is currently wrapping up its recruitment for a new sci-fi remake project being made in Epic Games' beautiful Unreal Engine 5. The project is thought to be the System Shock 2 remake, though it should be noted that this is just speculation based on the requirements being likes sci-fi and horror media. Nightdive Studios recently released the System Shock 2 25th Anniversary Remaster, which has gone down with fans well on Steam. So we are in the process of staffing up our development teams with outstanding talent to tackle a brand new sci-fi remake project using Unreal Engine 5. This is a contract position with the potential for full-time employment based on project needs and performance. It's an excellent opportunity for someone who is tired of being a cog in a bigger machine and would rather work closely with a small team where they could have a meaningful impact on the final game. While the goal of capturing and preserving the essence of the games that we all grew up with, we welcome applicants with unique skill sets and backgrounds. Now, again, a lot of people think it's going to be a full remake of System Shock 2. I want to note that we obviously don't know what the game is, and it could be anything because they've already done like System Shock 2. If you look at their website, you can see here's System Shock 2. Again, it was a remaster, not a remake, so a full remake could be a thing. They've done The Thing, the Killing Time Resurrected, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, Poe, Dark Forces, Turok, Rise of the Triad. They've done a lot of different games here. The original Strife. So again, they've actually touched System Shock 2 a couple of times, some of the OG Doom games as well. So they've done a really good job with this stuff over the years. So it could be a System Shock 2 remake. It could be something else we're not even thinking about. But here's one that we don't have to speculate on what game it is because we're going to be seeing it very, very soon. Playtonic Games has put out there, the month is still young. It'll make sense soon. And the image is Yooka-Replaylee release date announcement. So they're basically telling you the announcement's happening this month. Now, where is it going to happen? I don't know. Could it be at a general direct? Sure. If there is one this month, we'll talk about that later. Or is this going to be at opening night live? Sure, that's possible. Or they're just going to drop it randomly on a Tuesday. Who knows? The point is that we're going to see the release date announced for Yooka-Replaylee this month. That's the news. That's exciting. And now we get to get into some Dragon Drive. Dragon Drive Nintendo Switch online icons are now available. So here's the icon pack with your mission awards and stuff. You can get your Wave 1, then your Wave 2, and your Wave 3. Not that people care a whole lot about Dragon Drive right now, but maybe they will soon because, as a reminder, we have a playtest coming up. Let me make this bigger here. For Dragon Drive on August 9th from 3 a.m. Pacific to 7 a.m. Pacific, then 5 p.m. Pacific to 9 p.m. Pacific, and then on August 10th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific. So, hey, maybe people will be hyped about it after they actually get to try out the game. So that global jam is coming up soon, and I hope you guys are looking forward to playing that. Next up, this one's a fun one, all right? This one's an absolute fun one because this comes from Nash Weedle. And when we're talking about Nash Weedle, we're talking about rumors. Nash Weedle is someone who has been hit and miss, I guess, at times of this stuff. But he put out here that new dialogue have been recorded for the Talking Flower in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This is likely related to a game update or a Nintendo Switch 2 edition that we'll see soon. It does kind of feel like with the 40th anniversary of Super Mario around the corner that something like this, a Switch 2 edition of the game, could definitely be in the cards. It obviously did sell well on Switch. Having a special Switch 2 edition with some new DLC could be pretty magical. Look, I don't know what they're doing for Mario's 40th anniversary, and I've been avoiding speculating and talking on it much outside of the last rumor we had about a potential remaster of Mario Galaxy 2. And so I'm going to leave that until later in the month because I don't think anything for the 40th is actually happening until next month. But that doesn't mean that we have to wait till next month for everything. Look, I don't know when the next Nintendo Direct is. I would say nobody knows. Well, except somebody apparently knows, and that somebody is Zach from Switchforce, who was 100% right on the indie world this week. So now people are going to pay a bit more attention to him, including myself. Here's what he said at the beginning of his video yesterday.
But Mario on the mind today. We've got a lot of Mario stuff to discuss in today's video. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from Switchforce. I do not have a new Nintendo Direct update yet for you. Just know that I do know when it is, and we'll talk about that in the future. I don't want every video to be some expectation that it's going to be some crazy leak as my phone falls on the floor. That's not how this is going to go, but I will talk about that Direct.
So there you go. You heard him say himself. He does know when the Direct is, and he actually talked about this a bit on a special he did for our podcast yesterday. So why don't you take a listen to this? I'm not saying that you know when the third phase is, because I have no idea what you know. I'm not you. But if you don't know, when do you think it'll be? I know you put the kibosh on next week, which I think also is.
It's definitely not next week. I will have more in the future, but what I can say now is it's soon-ish. And okay. To be clear, I do know.
So soon-ish. Okay. End of August, sometime in September. That's kind of it's not as wide of a window or a net as you guys want. Obviously, you would love to get Zach to narrow this down, but that's when it's time. When it's time, due time to do that. And what's cool about whenever Zach does choose to do that, unlike last time or this week, I guess, where they were trying to use them against you, Nate the Hate will probably end up backing it because he actually pays attention to. He said it out loud. Yeah, I check on directs. I don't check on indie stuff.
Yeah, instead of Hydrogen Bomb versus Coughing Baby, maybe we can just be two Nintendo fans.
Absolutely. Okay, so obviously you can't say a whole lot because you know too much.
Yeah.
Anyways, folks, so there you go. A Nintendo Direct is coming, a general Direct this month, next month. I know that doesn't help you with some of your speculation and all of that out there. I get it because you were hoping for something to get much more narrowed down, but Zach is claiming he knows when the Direct is. He'll talk about it at an appropriate time. I'm sure Nate the Hate and other insiders might end up backing that stuff, assuming that it's all legit. Again, these are all just rumors, and even him saying that he knows, it's not like he showed me proof that he knows. So it's even a rumor that he knows. But his last couple of rumors came true. So we're obviously eagerly paying attention to see if he does truly know when the next Nintendo Direct is, when it's time. That being said, we got to end with a story that I think is more just a affirmation of something we already knew was happening at Sony. And some people are taking victory laps of this. I don't know that this is a victory lap sort of announcement. It's just the tides are changing in the industry. And one of the broader takeaways that may be correct, we'll see, is that Nintendo might be the only platform left that truly cares about hardware as much as they care about software. And that doesn't mean that Sony's about to get out of the hardware business. No, but it does mean that they're starting to get their gaming focus away from hardware and more on platform just being basically anywhere they can put Sony games and get sales, right? So let's take a look at this. Sony Senior Vice President Sadiko Hayakawa, I'm probably butchered that, I do apologize, says they are gradually shifting their gaming business from a hardware-centric business model to a community and engagement-based platform business model. And I'll explain why I'm reading this from a tweet in a moment, because he actually says this in a video, but it's all in Japanese, and I don't understand it. So that's why we're doing it. So in the gaming business, we are moving away from a hardware-centric business model more to a platform business model that expands the community and increases engagement. And then he said, overall, Sony are making a shift to creation as a company, as the three segments of games, music, and pictures make up 60% of Sony's total revenue. For example, shifting from output devices like TVs to creation devices like digital cameras. Also things like music streaming, music catalogs, and Crunchyroll, and teaming up with Bandai Namco to create new entertainment and IP. In the gaming business, the shift towards a platform business is increasing. He says they are transitioning to entertainment creation to expand and to improve stability and profitability. Says for further context, the question that was asked from the media was that Sony are aggressively investing in IP content creation, such as investing in Bandai Namco. How do they evaluate those investment results so far? And is there a specific investment that causes them to revise their forecast upwards? The answer talked about the overall strategy for Sony shifting focus to creation, and with the games business, shift more focus to the platform business. Note, this doesn't mean Nintendo will stop making console hardware anytime soon, but they say they will increase focus and investment on the platform business model going forward. This falls in line with the hire that we talked about before, where Sony was hiring someone that was about bringing games to Xbox and Nintendo. That goes along with that. That also goes along with statements they've made at corporate business meetings dating back to last year. It's very obvious that Sony is in the process, the slow process of bringing all of their games multi-platform. That seems to be their long-term goal. They might just be starting with games as a service games and multiplayer games at first, and slowly over the next decade transition to even their single-player games also being multi-platform. And the writing was on the wall for this. I know that people talk a lot about how Sony makes the most gaming revenue in the world, or maybe second most. I don't know. It's between them and Tencent. And it is true that Sony's revenue numbers are literally like industry leading. There's no doubt about that. But the issue is their profit margins off that revenue are actually not that large. There's been concerns expressed by the top brass during investor meetings that they need to increase the margins on the games they make in-house. All these games they put hundreds of millions of dollars into, the actual profit margins are razor thin to sometimes not even existent. Take Concord for an example. You think they actually made money off that game? So Sony is recognizing that the business model that they're doing, while it functions, they don't necessarily feel like it has a long-term viability plan to it. So they need to shift their focus to, hey, we need to worry about just getting PlayStation on everything and kind of doing what Xbox is doing. If you think about it, I know they're not going. PlayStation's not about to call an Xbox a PlayStation or a Switch to a PlayStation. I don't think they're going to go as bold as that. That was a really bold thing Xbox did, where everything's an Xbox. But they're kind of starting to slowly pursue a very similar strategy of, let's put our games where the gamers are, and we'll just take the profits. It's quite interesting because a huge chunk of their revenue is actually built off of the 30% cut they get of third-party games on their hardware. So you figure that would make them want to push hardware as being more important and keeping third parties there. But maybe they're not viewing that as a long-term viable thing. Maybe they see the future where maybe it's all digital. Maybe they are just forecasting that maybe PlayStation 6 just isn't going to sell as well because maybe it's going to be $1,000 device, which is scary to think about. So they could just be a lot of future prepping to be like, hey, we think the future is we got to try to slowly get our games pretty much everywhere the games are, and then we can build a PlayStation fan base on those different platforms and become one of the go-to companies for that on that platform. I think Sony games would obviously do decently well on Xbox for the small install base they have, but I think some of those games could actually do really, really well if they got them over on Switch too. Again, I'm not going to sit here and speculate about what Sony games could come over or when they're going to come over. This feels like a very long haul plan, and it's probably going to be a slow transition to doing this kind of stuff. But I do see that Sony is very clearly planning a future where they don't care as much about the hardware side as much as they care about getting their games anywhere that gamers are. Nintendo is obviously the last bastion then that, one, believes in true console exclusive games, and two, also believes in the hardware. And it's because Nintendo's business model is just different. Their business model is built on everything is sold for a profit, including the hardware, making the hardware a key part of their business strategy, whereas Sony's typically taking a loss per unit sold and trying to make it up with software sales. So I don't know, guys. You let me know what you think about this strategy down below. It's it's the future. It's what they're doing. They've been telling us this for over a year now. This is very clearly something they're dedicated to. It's going to be very, very slow. It's not going to be stark and quick and fast the way Xbox did it. Xbox became a multi-platform company pretty damn quickly. I don't think it's going to be like that for PlayStation. It's going to be a very, very slow, calculated rollout. They're still going to have timed exclusives to help sell PS6 and all of that. But I can appreciate them trying to be more forward thinking and realizing, hey, if we want to stay on the path we're on in terms of these high budget games and all this, we got to get them to the most amount of consumers that we can. I think a better business strategy would maybe be to reduce the budgets, but no one wants to hear that because then that means layoffs, right? And we have enough of that going on. So Sony's going to do what Sony's going to do. We'll just have to wait and see if this strategy pans out and what, if any, of their games end up coming to Nintendo Switch 2. That being said, folks, I am Nathaniel Rovajans from Nintendo Prime. Let me know what you think about all this news down below, and I'll catch you in the next video.